Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, nestled between the dark, whispering woods and the cold, moonlit mountains, there was a village known as Hollowbrook. This village was unlike any other, for it was always shrouded in an eerie fog that never lifted, no matter the season. The villagers knew this fog held secrets, but they never spoke of it, for fear that mentioning the unknown would invite it into their homes. In Hollowbrook lived a young girl named Elara. She had raven-black hair and eyes the color of a stormy sea. Elara was different from the other children. She was curious, always asking questions about the fog and the strange noises that echoed from the woods at night. Her parents warned her to stay away from the forest, but Elara's curiosity was stronger than her fear. One chilly autumn evening, as the fog thickened and the full moon cast ghostly shadows on the ground, Elara heard a soft, melodic singing coming from the woods. It was a lullaby, haunting yet beautiful, and it called to her. Unable to resist, she slipped out of her house and followed the sound. As she ventured deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to close in around her, their twisted branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab her. The singing grew louder, leading her to a small clearing where a tall, elegant woman stood. She had long, silver hair that shimmered in the moonlight and eyes that glowed like embers. Her skin was as pale as the fog that surrounded them. "Who are you?" Elara asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. The woman smiled, revealing sharp, pearly teeth. "I am Silfina, the guardian of these woods. I've been waiting for you, Elara." "How do you know my name?" Elara whispered, taking a step back. "I know many things," Silfina replied, her voice like silk. "I know you've always wondered about the fog and the mysteries it hides. Come, child, and I will show you." Despite her fear, Elara felt a strange compulsion to follow Silfina. They walked deeper into the forest, where the fog grew so thick it felt like a living thing, curling around Elara's ankles and whispering secrets in her ears. Eventually, they arrived at an ancient stone archway, covered in moss and glowing with an otherworldly light. "Through here lies the answer to all your questions," Silfina said, gesturing toward the archway. "But beware, for knowledge comes at a price." Elara hesitated for a moment, but her curiosity pushed her forward. As she stepped through the archway, she felt a chill run down her spine. On the other side, she found herself in a dark, twisted version of Hollowbrook. The houses were dilapidated, the trees were dead, and the air was filled with the stench of decay. "Welcome to the Shadow Realm," Silfina said, her voice echoing eerily. "This is where the souls of the lost wander, trapped between life and death." Elara looked around, her heart pounding in her chest. Shadows flitted through the fog, their ghostly faces twisted in agony. She wanted to run, but her feet felt like they were rooted to the ground. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "To show you the truth," Silfina replied. "The fog that blankets your village is a veil between our world and this one. The villagers are not what they seem. They are spirits, trapped in an endless cycle of life and death, unable to move on." Elara felt a cold dread settle over her. "But why? Why are they trapped?" Silfina's eyes gleamed with malice. "Because of a curse, cast long ago by a powerful sorcerer. He sought to punish the villagers for their greed and cruelty, binding their souls to this land for eternity." Elara's mind raced. Her parents, her friends, were they all spirits? She couldn't believe it. "There must be a way to break the curse," she said desperately. "There is," Silfina said with a sly smile. "But it requires a sacrifice. A soul must willingly take their place, binding themselves to the Shadow Realm to free the others." Elara's heart sank. She realized now why Silfina had brought her here. "You want me to stay," she said, her voice trembling. "To take their place?" Silfina nodded. You have the power to end their suffering, Elara. All you have to do is say the words. Tears streamed down Elara's face. She thought of her family, of the life she had known. Could she give it all up to save them? She looked into Silfina's eyes and saw a flicker of something. Was it pity? Hope? She couldn't be sure. Taking a deep breath, Elara made her decision. I'll do it, she said softly. I'll stay. Silfina's smile widened, and she began to chant in a language Elara couldn't understand. The fog thickened, swirling around Elara like a cocoon. She felt a sharp pain in her chest, as if her soul were being ripped from her body. The world around her faded, and she found herself in the heart of the Shadow Realm, surrounded by the lost souls she had seen before. But something was different. The shadows no longer seemed menacing. Instead, they looked at her with gratitude. She realized that by taking their place, she had freed them from their torment. They began to fade, one by one, their faces peaceful for the first time in centuries. As the last soul vanished, Elara felt a strange sense of calm. She was alone in the Shadow Realm, but she was not afraid. She had done something good, something selfless. And in that moment, she understood the true meaning of sacrifice. Back in Hollowbrook, the fog began to lift for the first time in living memory. The villagers, unaware of the true nature of their existence, went about their lives, free at last from the curse that had bound them. They would never know the price that had been paid for their freedom, nor the name of the girl who had saved them. In the heart of the Shadow Realm, Elara stood tall, her spirit shining bright. She was the new guardian, the keeper of the lost souls. And though her story was one of sacrifice and sorrow, it was also one of hope and redemption. And so, the tale of Elara and the fog of Hollowbrook became a legend, whispered among the trees and carried on the wind. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of places, light could be found, and that even the smallest act of bravery could change the world forever.